Hello, everybody, and welcome to On the Ice. On today's episode, we move a little bit west. We go one province over, and we talk to the 2018 Canalta champion coach, Doug Johnson, GM as well. He's been with the program 11 years. He's been through everything you could possibly think of as a head coach. Ups, downs, all arounds, hills, valleys, broken ice machines, Zambonis on the side, fixing sticks, working on skates. Hopefully they have someone laundering the jock straps because I don't think that's in his job description. Ladies and gentlemen, on the ice, Mr. Doug Johnson. As promised, Doug Johnson, head coach, general manager of the Nipawin Hawks. Doug, thanks for spending some time with me today on the ice. How are you doing today?
Doing very well, and thanks for having me, Theo.
You've had quite an interesting week off the ice, combines and travelings and whatnots. We won't get into too much of that. I bet you're looking forward to getting back on the ice, would you say?
Been looking forward to it since middle of March. Yeah, it's been way too long of an off season, and my mind and my body isn't programmed to be away from hockey this long.
So speaking of your body, have you been able to get on any ice? And if you have, did you forget how to skate?
I don't know if I could have skated to begin with. Back when I played, everybody said I was the slowest player in the league. So, but I don't think I'm worried about that. But we haven't been able to get on the ice. The ice just got in Nipawin. They're building it up. I know my 2-year-old and 5-year-old want to get out there, but we just have to wait one more day and take them out tomorrow.
Absolutely. You weren't the slowest one on the ice, Doug. You were watching and you were looking from abroad. You were trying to get a bird's eye view on everything because you knew you were destined to take over a very prominent junior program in Saskatchewan. Have you always been a Saskatchewan boy and grown up in Saskatchewan? Tell us a little bit about your background before joining the Hawks 11 years ago. It seems like a century ago.
Yeah, it was definitely a long time ago, but it's sure flown by. Yeah, born and raised in Southwest Saskatchewan. Played my minor hockey in Swift Current. Came up, played 3 years in Nipawin. Spent my last year in junior in the U.S. And then 6 years in the minors. Had a farming accident and got hurt, which forced me to start coaching and spent my first 6 years coaching down in the U.S. North American League, USHL, minor pro, and then last 11 years been up here, and that's about it.
You summed it up extremely well. Let's sum up last season very quickly. Off camera, you told me you had your opponents right where you wanted them in the playoffs. Winning Game 4. Did you notice the tides were turning in that first round of the playoffs?
I thought we had an okay first game. Our goalie had a really great game. Just couldn't find the back of the net. Game 2 and 3, we probably played better. Didn't get the goaltending, but we were a heavier team. I thought we were starting to wear them down. But Battleford was a first-place team in the league for a reason. They had a great back end, very timely, opportunistic scores. I'd like to joke about it. It's pretty tough to come back to 3-0, but we made the first step to get it to 3-1, and hopefully our heavier guys would have been able to force the series a little longer and maybe end up going our way, but we'll never know.
That's right. We'll never know. It's March 13th. Everything kind of shut down on everybody. The season was pretty decent. I mean, 30-24, 64 points. What would you have liked to have seen last year kind of improve more so to get you out of that 7th spot and facing a first-round matchup with Battleford?
Well, we dealt with a few injuries. We dealt with some inconsistencies. The biggest thing in my mind was the consistency, though. We had to have some great stretches. We started the season 7-0. Then we faltered a little bit. Had a great stretch after Christmas, and our captain got hurt in a fight, and then we faltered down the stretch. And it seemed when we got good goaltending, football, hockey, if we got good goaltending, we won games. When we didn't have good goaltending, we struggled. But we needed to help them out a lot more too, and we hopefully solidified that in the off season.
It's often a little bit longer than normal for you, Doug. How have you been able to prioritize things and, you know, manage over the course of the months, getting you prepared with your roster, your recruits, your signings here through August, and then obviously working through scheduling meetings you had last month?
Really probably drank a lot more beer. That was about it. No, it's just trying to blend the time with family and with the team, because really we don't know when things are going to start. It's been a long, uncertain off season, but you try and handle it business as usual. We have a great scouting staff that identified the players we needed to sign. We got on them quickly, and basically a lot of our recruiting was done by July 1st, middle of June. So then it's just making sure guys are informed of what's going on, making sure we have a good camp list, and then trying to figure out how we return to play, how things are going to look. But with all the uncertainty, even now, it's very tough to make a plan, a season plan, anything like that, when you don't know when you're going to start, and you don't know what all the restrictions are going to be when you start. So that's probably been the most difficult thing, is just managing the uncertainty and the emotional roller coaster that goes with it.
The mental aspect of the game has been getting a lot more attention, and rightfully so, especially from the days you and I used to play to today. How important is it to address mental health for athletes and for hockey players, knowing through what we're going through in today, and how it's part of our life, but it's not the most important part of life?
Yeah, that's an issue. I think as a coach you struggle with, because I do believe some players use it as a crutch, and some players try and battle through it. It's just like coaching, you have to find the right balance between yelling and screaming at the players and coddling them a little bit, and then knowing your players. After we talked earlier about 2018 when we had the Humboldt bus accident, and that opened my eyes a lot. We had a lot of health professionals in, mental health professionals in, and players started dealing with the psychologist, psychiatrist a little bit. And you found triggers, what set players off, and then what to look for. And, the next season we brought a lot of guys in that you just knew weren't right. And you start talking to them a little more, and they needed help. And so it's just becoming educated in that way, and trying to figure out what's best for them and how they want to proceed in the future.
How difficult was it? Let's start, back in your day. We'll go 15, 17 years back, including your days in the States, Doug. Talk about how recruiting and reviewing a player's abilities on the ice as well as their abilities off the ice, their balance within their own lifestyle. How has that improved with technology and without technology to today's recruitment process? I mean, we still have bantam drafts, we still have scouting reports and whatnot, but you and I are both one of those guys that would probably like to go to a rink and watch a guy firsthand and make our own notes, right?
Yeah. When I started, there wasn't really video. You'd have that father holding the camcorder up, and you'd cut out half the time, and you'd get the DVD sent to you. Now everything online, YouTube, everything, it's made it a lot easier. The quality is a lot better. But still, it's getting in the eyes on guys in the rink, because, the camera, a lot of times you're only getting the highlight clips, which are nice. You can see the skill level. You can see this. You can see some things. But when you're able to watch a player shift after shift after shift, that's still the best. And, I think the training, the focus that all the players have on training, that's not as huge of a concern as it was 15, 20 years ago. Because back then, a lot of players still were coming to camp to get into shape. Now players are coming to camp, they're in shape, and if they're not, they're going home pretty quick. But it's, our first call is still to the coaches, to former coaches, to find out the character. That, to us, is the most important part, and that's the hardest one to judge, to scout, because some former coaches like to sell their players, some like to downplay them. And it's tough to judge your character just by watching them at times.
Absolutely. You see the paycheck aspect of things. You don't see the forecheck and the backcheck side of things from highlight reels. Lord knows 30-second highlights don't show a 60-minute game.
Yeah.
Doug, I'm going to take a quick break with you. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about our return to play guidelines for returning players and for the players that are going to be newly signed with the Nipawin Hawks right after this break. This has been On the Ice on ASTV. Joining me on today's episode, Doug Johnson, head coach, GM. What other managerial things or jack of all trades have you done with the Hawks there, Doug?
Being here for 11 years, there's been a little bit of everything. It's coming up with fundraisers. It's basically everything but sharpening skates. I've sharpened a few, but the guys didn't like them so much, and there's a reason for that. Probably can't sharpen them, but I didn't want guys coming to ask me to sharpen them. So, at this level, we have 2 full-time staff, myself and our office manager, our marketing director. So you kind of do everything in the off season. In season, we don't have a large staff either. We have a great athletic trainer that also works as our equipment manager, and then an assistant coach. So it's setting up video, it's helping out with laundry. I don't like folding towels at home, so I try not to here, but it basically is your jack of all trades, and it's from running being on the committee for a fishing tournament fundraiser to coming up with new ideas fundraising. That's basically the big thing right now, is trying to find ways to make money, because with all junior A teams, we're down money, and just because of COVID and how things worked out, and not being able to fundraise in the summer because no lottery licenses.
Yeah, that's been a big deal for a lot of junior teams, like you said, right across Canada. That idea of how junior teams, junior programs, organizations are going to be financially stable this upcoming year, not to mention the limitations that are being put on many of the teams provincially for spectators in the stands. We're hoping that those guidelines are lifted a little bit, because that is an important revenue stream for all teams in junior hockey. We won't worry ourselves about that, but let's talk about how Hawks players returning. How many players roughly do you think you have returning for next season? And what are their guidelines going to be once they begin coming to camp?
Well, for our returners, recruits are all going to be the same. Everybody has to come in with the COVID test within 7 days of their arrival. And then once they're in, it's daily temperature checks, it's the hand washing, masks are, unless we're told we have to wear masks, we're not going to, just because we're in such a tight bubble with the players, it's going to be tough. So that's basically the generic form of it. There's going to be, a lot placed on cleanliness, making sure they're taking care of themselves as far as nutrition, wearing the right clothing, things like that, just to stay safe as possible, and then make right decisions off the ice. Try and keep as tight a bubble as you can, things like that. And it's tough because you look at the caseload in Saskatchewan. I think we have 38 active cases in Saskatchewan right now. Players see that, people see that, and they're wondering why all these precautions. Well, if something does happen, heaven forbid, we're probably not going to have a season. Then they're not going to have that opportunity to play, to showcase themselves. we're not going to have jobs. We're not going to have a franchise. Sitting, missing playoffs last year, having it shut down was tough. No fundraising this summer is tough. If the season shut down, there's going to be a lot of teams folding. So we just have to try and do as much as possible to make sure that the guys are safe and not making the poor decisions. And it's going to be a lot off the ice, not as much on the ice.
Common sense to you and me means a little bit different than common sense to a 17, 18-year-old kid coming to play junior hockey. We both know that. We understand that. And players will have to understand, and obviously the coaches will be leading by example, I'm sure. The town of Nipawin, not the biggest of towns, but it relies on its, like you said, the community relation between the Hawks and Nipawin is a long story. I mean, there's a lot of history involved between the town of Nipawin and its junior hockey program. Comment on how important it is to have the support of the staff, but also knowing that or support of the town, sorry, but also the understanding that you need to put a good product on the ice to be supported.
Yeah, it's if I'm not mistaken, Nipawin is the smallest center other than Notre Dame out of the 4 Western provinces, the junior A teams. We're just a hair over 4,000 people. So to run a program like we do and to be financially sound, I would think we're one of the more financially stable organizations within the SJHL. It says a lot about the community support, and also our board and our fundraising efforts, because we can sell everything out. We're still down about $300,000 or $400,000 for a balanced budget. So we have a great farming program that we rent 200 acres. We get that every year. But the team and the community go hand in hand. People think of Nipawin, they think of the Hawks, or they think of fishing. And there's that, what you do in the community and the success. The best seasons we had financially with butts in the seats were the seasons that we won. They were the seasons that we're going to the semifinals, that we're going to the finals, that we finished first or second in the division. We did a lot when we were very bad when I came here in the community. That didn't translate near as well as wins. So there's a lot of community pride. They just want us to win, and they do a lot for our community or for our organization. And we just try and make them proud every day.
In terms of upcoming camps and dates, have we had anything set up yet for September or October, Doug, that we could mention to upcoming players in the community?
Well, we've had lots set up, and then they just get pushed back. So tentatively right now, we're going to have our main camp starting September 18th. But again, that is tentative, depending on Sask Health right now. Basically, it's all up to the government, and it's been a frustrating time because when all the restrictions were put into place, it was going to flatten the curve. And right now, we flatten the curve. Like I said, 38 active cases, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know when flattening the curve became waiting for a vaccine, but that's where we are right now, and just trying to deal with it the best we can.
2020-2021 season starts for you, Doug. You got the boys all together. First game in, what type of game do you look forward to seeing your boys play?
A game that has us winning at the end of it. The one thing most of our opposition says about us, we're a hardworking team. We will have a group that is top heavy up front. We'll have a lot of young guys that are going to be learning how to play junior hockey, learning how to have success. But we're going to have a lot of 3-year returners on the up front also. So we're going to have to rely on them early to lead the way. Our back end, we should have 5 returning D, and then 2 really good goalies, whoever they're going to be. So we're excited about it, but it's going to be an up-tempo game. I'm a Boston Bruins fan, born and raised a Bruins fan, and really like the way they play. Although last night I loved a lot of things Tampa Bay did too, but it's going to be a lot of second effort, a lot of sacrifice, in making sure we're doing what's best for the team, not what's best for the individual.
You mentioned the heavy team. You mentioned the 3-year guys that are coming back. I'm always amazed at watching junior hockey and seeing junior hockey rosters roll over, seeing the veterans age out, seeing the rookies come in. How is it that, I mean, you've been in the program for 11 years now with the Hawks, Doug. How do you maintain that competitive edge year in and year out, knowing you've got to create not a team for the now, but a team also for the future at the same time.
Yeah, and I think you have to pick your spots where you either go for it or where you don't have the horses to make a big run and start selling off. The older you get, it's tougher to sell. I found that out. You got your pride and in the belief in your players year in, year out. So it's a juggling act and it's a balancing act, and it's just trying to find value where you can find value, and having a plan, because you see a lot of teams that are changing coaches year after year after year. Those are a lot of the teams that do not have a lot of success and are constantly in the basement. In our league, especially, if you look at the teams that have a solid leadership program, have had stability with their coaching ranks, those are the teams that are usually having the most success year after year. Are there outliers? Absolutely. Are there one-offs? Absolutely. But history proves a little consistency, especially in junior hockey, is never a bad thing.
A fan of the black and yellow. That I am not. I won't say what team I'll support. I'm a little bit of a homer in that aspect, but nonetheless, behind you, Doug, is your quote board. Are you more of a movie or a music quote guy, or is it more following other coaches and what they say and try and use that to your advantage to try to pep the boys up before a game?
It's more historical quotes, coaches' quotes, general quotes, things like that. And not much into I love movies. I don't keep a lot of their quotes. I love music. Don't keep a lot of the quotes. But it's just a lot of the things you hear from other coaches, a lot of things you've read from generals and people in the military, stuff like that, just to try and find a way. Because sometimes it's a long season, as everybody knows, and if you can find one thing that the guys can click on and rally behind, that sure makes life a lot easier.
Do you have a specific quote right now that you would be your go-to for the beginning of the season?
Yeah, if you don't work, nothing will. That's one of my favorites. If you don't work, nothing will, and I just think it's so appropriate for hockey, because you can have all the skill in the world and you can get beat by just a plumber day in, day out if they outwork you.
Well, Doug, we've got most of the roster. We'll be seeing you mid-September. We're hoping for a beginning October start, still correct. We'll hopefully see that happen. Fans in the stands as well. I want to thank you very much for your time, Doug. Good luck this season and when that starts. I mean, it's always great to see the success of Nipawin. I have an old friend of mine who used to play for the Hawks long, long time ago. Yeah. He moved on to collegiate life in NCAA. So great to hear the program and the success. Congratulations on the Canalta win, although it was during the season of 2018. Don't take anything away from that. Good luck. Anything you'd like to say to thank the members in the community of Nipawin and looking forward to this season in general? Yeah,
just obviously like to thank you for this opportunity, and the people in Nipawin, always like to thank them, because without the fans coming to the rink, I don't have a job, nor do any coaches or players have the opportunity with junior hockey. So it's about the fans, it's about the community, and we just try and do what we can day in, day out to make them proud.
Doug Johnson, head coach, GM, Nipawin Hawks. Thanks for taking some time with me on the ice here on Amateur Sports TV. Make sure you check out Coffee with Graham Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, 7:30 and 9 p.m. The Wags will be there nightly. Thanks for joining me again. Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.